What would you do if, just days before Christmas, you found out your spouse wasn't just having an affair, but had already planned to betray you in a way that would destroy everything you thought you knew? My name is David. I'm 42 years old, living in Seattle, Washington, a city that's known for its misty weather and hidden truths. I've always thought of myself as a pretty average guy. I'm a father, a husband, a regular guy trying to make a living, raise a family, and build a future. I never thought I'd be someone who'd be betrayed, at least not in this way. But sometimes, life has a way of showing you that the ground beneath your feet wasn't as solid as you thought. I used to think I knew what betrayal felt like. The little lies, the sneaky glances, the hollow apologies. But I was wrong. I had no idea. Not until that day, just a few days before Christmas. Not until the moment the truth hit me like a punch to the stomach, and everything I thought was real came crashing down in an instant. Before I proceed, kindly subscribe and comment your highlight from my story. It started like any other cold December day. The kind where the air feels sharp, and the world looks like it's wrapped in a blanket of silence. Christmas was approaching, and I had hoped, naively, that things would be different this year. But I should have known. How could I be so blind? That morning, I woke up early, the stillness of the house pressing in on me. The Christmas decorations in the living room seemed almost out of place, so cheerful, so perfect, when everything between us had long been broken. I reached for my Emily phone just to check the time, then I saw the notification. My hand froze. My heart dropped into my stomach. It was from an unknown number. The message, short and cold, shattered everything. Everything's in place. The money's ours this Christmas. I stared at those words. It wasn't just the affair anymore. It wasn't some trivial secret. No, this was something deeper. Something darker. It was a plan. A plan that had been set in motion long before I'd even suspected a thing. I had been living in a lie, and now, days before Christmas, it was all falling apart. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Not in the way she expected. I had to think. I had to stay calm even though my world was collapsing around me. My first instinct was to act like everything was normal, to play the role of the oblivious husband, to hold on to the facade for just a little longer. So, I did the unthinkable. I texted Ben, the one she was seeing behind my back. The one who had been slipping in and out of our lives for months without me ever noticing. I invited him over for Christmas dinner. I acted normal. I played the part of the gracious husband, the one who believed everything was fine, the one who didn't have a clue. What a fool I had been. Dinner was unbearable. Ben laughed too loud. Emily smiled too much. The way they interacted, too casual, too comfortable, made my skin crawl. But I held it together. I played the part of the perfect husband, even as my insides twisted with rage and confusion. The food felt like cardboard, tasteless and dry even as I forced it down. The night stretched on, every minute pulling me further into the storm inside my chest. But I waited. I waited for the right moment. And when it came, I stood up. The chair scraped across the floor, loud in the heavy silence. Emily and Ben both turned to look at me, startled by the sudden shift in the air. I didn't give them the satisfaction of waiting. "Emily," I said, my voice controlled but carrying the weight of 1,000 emotions. "I know everything. I know about you and Ben. I know about your little plan to ruin me." Her face drained of color. Ben shifted in his seat, his eyes darting around, like he was searching for a way to escape. But there was no escape. The truth had been laid bare. "Everything?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "What do you mean?" I smiled, but it wasn't a smile of warmth. "I know about the affair," I said. "And I know about your little plan. Your plan to ruin me, to take everything." There was a pause. Ben opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Emily's face slowly crumpled into confusion and fear. The truth was sinking in, and she didn't want to face it. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I turned to our youngest child, who was sitting in the corner, mindlessly playing with his toys. The sight of his small hands, so pure and untainted, twisted something inside me. "And this," I said, my voice shaking with the force of what I was about to say, "this isn't even my son." The words landed like a bomb. Emily's face went from shock to disbelief to something I couldn't place. Her hand instinctively reached for the boy, but I stopped her. "Ben's the father," I said. "You've been lying to me about everything, about him, about us, about our family." Her eyes flickered to Ben and then back to me, desperate for an explanation, but there was none. The truth was inescapable. She had been caught. And just when I thought the worst was over, I dropped the final bomb. "You didn't even give me the decency to let me be a father to my own child," I said, my voice breaking slightly. "That's the part that hurts the most, Emily. The lies, the secrets, the things you took from me." For a long moment, nothing was said. Emily's face crumpled in shame and guilt. Ben looked anywhere but at us, unable to face what was unfolding. But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was out and nothing would ever be the same again. I walked out of that room, leaving them behind. The sound of Emily's sobs followed me, but I couldn't turn back. I couldn't. Christmas had never felt so cold. Instead of confronting Emily immediately, David makes a decision that will leave both her and the audience reeling. He chooses silence and deception, all while plotting his revenge in the most calculated way possible. With a steady hand, he pulls out his phone and without a word, texts Ben, Emily's secret lover. The message is brief: "Join us for Christmas dinner tonight, same time as usual." Ben, unaware of the storm he's about to walk into, assumes this is simply a casual family invitation. As far as he knows, everything is fine. He doesn't suspect that David knows the truth. He doesn't know that this dinner is not a celebration but a carefully orchestrated moment of reckoning. David remains calm, cool, and collected as he prepares for dinner. He greets Ben at the door with the kind of politeness that hides the seething anger beneath. He plays the perfect host, his demeanor smooth, but every forced smile, every polite word feels like a mask he's wearing to cover up the storm inside. As the dinner begins, the atmosphere is thick with tension. The camera captures David's forced smiles, his hand clenching the silverware just a little too tightly. Emily, blissfully unaware, chats animatedly, trying to fill the silence with conversation. She laughs at Ben's jokes and Ben does the same, both of them carrying on like nothing is wrong. But David can feel the lies hanging in the air. The emotional tension in the room is suffocating. Emily and Ben laugh as if they are two people who have nothing to hide, unaware of how easily their betrayal is hanging in the balance. David, however, knows everything. Every word exchanged between Emily and Ben feels loaded like a ticking time bomb. His mind races as he mentally prepares for the confrontation he knows is coming. David watches Ben, noting the nervous glances, the stiff posture, the small gestures that reveal just how uneasy he really is. He sees through the facade. Ben is sweating under the pressure, trying desperately to keep the act up, to pretend that everything is fine. But David's eyes never leave him, the weight of their shared history, their friendship, suddenly twisted by the knowledge of the affair. As the evening progresses, the weight of David's heartbreak becomes more pronounced. The camera flicks between the present and fleeting memories of happier times, the warmth of past Christmases when everything felt real. He remembers the laughter of their children, the way Emily had smiled when they first moved into their home together, the way she used to look at him when she thought no one was watching. In one particularly poignant flashback, David remembers one Christmas morning years ago when Emily and he had exchanged gifts. He had bought her a delicate bracelet, and the way she had smiled, genuinely happy, had filled his heart with warmth. The scene cuts back to the present. The same table, the same holiday setting, but now with a bitter emptiness. The contrast between these memories and the current situation is jarring. David's heart aches as he watches Emily and Ben play their parts, their smiles so natural, so rehearsed. The warmth from the past feels like a lifetime ago, and now all that remains is a broken trust. The love, the family, the life they once shared, it's all shattered and it's happening in real time just a few feet away from him. As Emily continues to laugh, oblivious to David's pain, the tension between the three of them is palpable. David feels like he's standing on the edge of a cliff, the truth just about to crash down. His mind is a whirlwind of thoughts, but he remains outwardly calm, waiting, calculating his next move. His thoughts drift back to the moment when he first noticed the signs, the little things he had ignored, the glances that lingered too long, the late nights. Now it all makes sense. Now he knows the real cost of the betrayal. The dinner continues, but every bite feels like ash in David's mouth. He forces himself to eat to appear normal, but it's all an act. Inside, he is counting the seconds until it's time to reveal the truth. The irony isn't lost on him. Just days before Christmas, a time meant for family, for togetherness, he is about to tear his family apart. The dinner had been progressing like a bad play, a performance they both thought they could control. Emily was smiling, laughing at Ben's jokes, her eyes sparkling with the illusion of normalcy. It was as if she didn't even know the storm was about to break, the ground beneath her already shaking. But David's expression turned cold, his eyes darkening with a finality that chilled the room. The tension in his body was palpable. It had been building all evening, the slow burn of his anger and hurt. But now it was time to end the charade. Without a word, he stood up, the scrape of his chair against the wooden floor loud enough to freeze the conversation. The room went silent, all eyes on him. Ben's smile faltered as he sensed something was wrong. Emily, too, looked up, her face blank for a moment before recognition slowly dawned on her. David's voice cut through the silence, calm but seething with a quiet rage that filled the space between them. "So, Emily," he said, his gaze never leaving her face, "how does it feel to have your world on the edge of a knife? Your lover sitting here, sharing our Christmas dinner, knowing everything about our life. But me?" The words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Emily's face flushed with shock, disbelief flashing in her eyes. Her mouth opened, then closed again as if she didn't know how to respond. Her perfect little world was crumbling, and she could feel it, even if she didn't fully understand how she had gotten here. Ben's gaze dropped to the table, guilt washing over him like a tidal wave. He tried to maintain his composure, but the cracks were already showing. His forced smile had long since faded, replaced by the uncomfortable guilt that now suffused his features. David's next words hit harder than the first. The truth was sharper now, slicing through the tension like a blade. "It's not just your affair that broke me, Emily." He paused, letting the words settle. "It's the lies you've been hiding about our child." At that moment, everything seemed to slow down. Emily froze, the color draining from her face. She couldn't speak, couldn't even breathe. Her mind was scrambling to make sense of the accusation, but nothing made sense. Her world, her carefully constructed facade, was shattering right before her eyes. She had no defense, no words to save herself. The room felt like it was closing in. David turned his gaze to their youngest child, a sweet, innocent 5-year-old, sitting quietly in the corner, oblivious to the gravity of the situation. The little boy was playing with his toy cars, humming a Christmas tune to himself, unaware of the storm raging around him. David's voice was steady, but the weight of his words made the atmosphere in the room heavy, suffocating. "That boy," he said, turning back to Emily, his words like a final blow, "isn't mine. He's Ben's." The words landed like a thunderclap. The air seemed to leave the room. Emily's eyes went wide, disbelief morphing into a profound sense of horror. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She was trapped in a moment of pure shock, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the truth. The revelation crashed over her like a flood, and all the lies she had told herself, all the excuses she had made, fell apart. Ben, who had been silent, couldn't meet anyone's eyes. He looked away, the guilt finally too much to bear. His shoulders sagged as the weight of the truth settled on him, a truth he had tried to escape but could never outrun. He had betrayed David, and now he was forced to face it. David stood there watching the two of them. His heart felt heavy, but there was no joy in this moment, no sense of victory. This wasn't about winning. It was about the crushing realization that everything he had once loved, everything he had fought for, had been ripped apart by the people closest to him. The silence in the room was deafening. Emily's tears started to fall, but there was no sympathy in David's heart. She had made her choices, and now she would have to live with the consequences. Ben, too, seemed broken by the revelation, but David could feel no pity for him either. He had been complicit in this betrayal, and now they were both exposed for who they truly were. The silence is unbearable. It stretches out, thick and suffocating, as if the air itself is holding its breath. The weight of the confrontation lingers between them, heavy and raw. David stands, still as stone, a man who has finally reached the point of no return. His heart is heavy, but the anger within him is colder than it's ever been. He steps closer to Emily, his eyes never leaving hers. His voice cracks under the weight of everything he's endured, but the words come out with quiet fury. "You broke me," David says, his words jagged as if each one is a shard of glass. "You broke us, and I've been holding on to this lie for too long. I'm done." David doesn't flinch, doesn't soften. The love he once had for her, that faint glimmer of hope he kept holding on to despite the cracks, is gone. It's been replaced with something darker, something sharper, bitter anger, the thirst for justice, and the undeniable need to walk away. Emily's face contorts with regret, but it's too late for apologies now. She stumbles back, her chest heaving with sobs. Her tears flow freely, but David feels nothing. Not for her. Not anymore. She reaches out for him, her hands trembling as she tries to bridge the gap between them, but David stays cold. His eyes are hard, unyielding. She's no longer the woman he married. She's a stranger, a woman who tore their world apart. And in this moment, she will be nothing but a memory. Ben opens his mouth, his voice small and desperate, but David cuts him off with a look. It's not a shout, not a yell. It's simply a look, one that says more than words ever could. A look that demands silence. Ben's attempt at an apology dies before it can take shape. His words are hollow, meaningless. How could anything he says make up for what they've done? For the years of lies? For the child that wasn't his own? The betrayal runs too deep. Ben's remorse, however genuine, means nothing now. The damage is done. David watches them, watching as Emily crumbles under the weight of her guilt, watching as Ben tries to stay strong but is clearly broken inside. He feels a cold sense of finality, as if something inside him has died, and he is no longer the man he once was. This is not just about revenge anymore. It's about closure. It's about finding peace, even if it means severing every last thread that once held his family together. The camera pans to the small figure in the corner, the child, oblivious to the chaos unfolding around him. He is still playing with his toy cars, humming a Christmas tune to himself. He doesn't understand the weight of what's happening, not yet. But then, as if guided by some unseen force, he looks up at Emily, his innocent face full of confusion. "Why are you sad, Mommy?" he asks, his voice small, but with a purity that makes David's heart twist in his chest. For a brief moment, David's heart breaks just a little. He feels the weight of what's been lost. The child is innocent, caught in a war he doesn't understand, and it's devastating to know that this is the world he will grow up in, a world built on lies and shattered trust. But David pushes that feeling down, shoving it aside. He can't afford to feel sorry. He can't afford to soften. This is the cost of the truth. This is the price of betrayal. He has to finish this. Emily collapses into Ben's arms, utterly broken. The realization is written across her face in stark relief. She has lost everything. She's lost her husband. She's lost the man who had given her love, trust, and the family she once took for granted. But most painfully, she's lost her child's father. Ben is the father of her son, and David will no longer play the role of the fool. David watches them, their lives now in ruins, and he feels something shift in him. He's no longer angry. Not really. The storm of rage that had fueled him is gone, replaced by a quiet acceptance. This is the end. There's no going back, no fixing what's been broken. As David walks away, his heart is heavy with the weight of everything he's lost. But at the same time, a strange sense of relief floods through him. The truth is out. The lies are over. And for the first time in a long time, he feels like he can breathe again.